Zoning Committee to order. We'll begin with a public hearing. Anyone other than the applicant wishing to speak must register and submit the registration. Following the hearing, we'll conduct our monthly business meeting, at which time we'll vote on the applications. You may stay and hear how the applications are decided, or you may leave following the hearing. The applicant and town board will be sent a copy of tonight's decision. Any other person wishing to receive a copy of the decision can sign the sheet on the table in front of the room. Those of you wishing immediate knowledge of the outcome of these proceedings may call the county zoning office tomorrow morning. The procedure we will follow for hearing each application is, after each application is read, the applicant, their agent, or representative will be asked to present their application, followed by any questions or comments from the committee. Then all correspondence will be read. Then others in favor will have a chance to speak. Anyone objecting will have a chance to speak. I'll then ask for a summary of the committee's field observations and staff comments. And finally, the applicant will be allowed a chance for a short rebuttal if they wish. Anyone wishing to speak, please use the microphone, state your name, and direct your comments to the committee. Ask that all testimony be kept brief, no more than 5 minutes, and to the point. If you're testifying as a nearby landowner, tell us where your property is located relative to the subject property. Tonight's hearing is recorded, and the recording will become part of the record. Comments that are based on hearsay or secondhand information, as well as slanders and prejudicial remarks, will be ruled out of order. The committee has looked at all the properties or know the properties, and the record will reflect any observations. Any person affected by an administrative decision of this committee has 10 days from the filing of tonight's decision to make an appeal to circuit court. The county assumes no liability and makes no warranty as to the legality of any construction commenced prior to the expiration of this 10-day period. I will now introduce the committee. Patrick King, John Van Amegren, Bart Peterson, myself, Dave Waushara, and the county zoning administrator, Todd Waller, and Becky Hubach acting as secretary. You should have the notice of public hearing. So first on the agenda for tonight, we have a request for a zone change. Napawan LLC, Oshkosh, Wisconsin, has made an application for a zone change in accordance with section 58-131 through 58-138. 58-361 and 58-451 of the Waushara County Zoning Code to rezone a 32.5 acre parcel of land from OP, Parks and Recreation, to AG4, General Agricultural, 4 acres, to allow construction of a future private residence. The location is a 32.5 acre parcel of land that is part of the southeast quarter of the southwest quarter, except parcel in southeast corner. Section 1, Township 19 North, Range 11 East, Town of Mount Morris, Beech Nut Avenue. And if the applicant would come forward and just give us a synopsis of what you're looking to do there.
Hi there. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Hi there, Mike Carter on behalf of Napawan LLC, have to say formally. Recently purchased the land from not Getaway House anymore, Waushara Cabins. Was a Boy Scout there when I was a kid, so has a personal connection there. Really looking to rezone the land. So we're at really a two-phase approach. Phase 1 is really restore the existing accessory structures and put the RV travel trailer on there. And then phase 2, really the intention is longer term to build a permanent house. So, I mean, the land will leave, wooded. Obviously, there's some trees that need to come down, but that, normal maintenance, if you will. Really, characteristics change. Trying to think kind of big picture. There's already a road, there's already utilities, there's already a vault privy. From the Boy Scout camp days. Still, I know the sanitary application has already been submitted and reviewed and approved, I believe. Still holds a lot of water. So I guess questions.
Anybody on the committee have any questions?
How much, I used to inspect that on a fire inspector for Saxville. How many of those buildings, that down by the gun range there, or?
No, it's the far right bottom corner. So it used to be called Flintlock back in the Boy
Oh,
Scout
yeah,
days.
okay. Mhm.
So it's that little, the 30,
That little
30
section there,
acres.
okay. That's it, just curious.
Yeah, for sure. The gun range, I think, is still there, actually. The postcard didn't tear it down.
Any other questions? All right. You can have a seat and then if you need a response, we'll get you back up there.
Sounds
Any
good.
correspondence?
Okay, so the town of Mount Morris recently took this matter up at their February 7th, 2026 Land Use Committee meeting. And then they took it up just shortly thereafter at their February 10th, 2026 Town Board meeting. They unanimously recommended to approve the zone change from OP to AG4, and there were no other comments.
Then we'll go right straight to staff comments.
Okay.
Unless there's somebody registered.
I've got nobody registered. Okay, per my staff report, the property in question is that far southeast portion of the land that was originally owned by Getaway Homes. Should be pointed out that while the property was owned by Getaway Homes, it was never really part of that camping, glamping park experience that we approved a few years ago. I did put an exhibit in your packets. There should be a colorized map of kind of the entire area. But you can see that glamping experience, the campground area that's owned by Getaway, never really even went down into that area. There was just a small little loop road that just kind of dabbled into the southern half. The rest of that property has always remained vacant, similar to what, has occurred over on the west side and with the Gullners purchasing part of that property over there. And at this point, the applicant, has since purchased this property with the intent of building a residence. But to enable a development of a single-family home, the property as such would need to be properly zoned. As the current zoning OP, which is open space parks, only permits a single-family residence as a principal use, accessory to a principal use, such as a ranger station at a campground. So as a result, the applicant, we've worked with him, is now seeking to rezone that southeast 32.5 acres of land from OP to AG4. Staff's reviewed this request and believes that a zone change at this location should have no detrimental impact upon the surrounding land uses and or the existing getaway development. It should be noted that the properties immediately to the north, south, and east are similarly zoned AG4. While the committee will be making a recommendation on this request later in the evening, staff is recommending approval of the zone change, subject to the conditions listed before you.
Mike, do you feel any need to rebut anything? All right. We'll move on. Next is a request for conditional use from Napa One LLC of Oshkosh, Wisconsin. It was made an application for a conditional use in accordance with section 58-236, paragraph 17, and 58-454, paragraph 27 of the Waushara County zoning code to store a 2022 Dutchman Coleman 26-foot travel trailer in an AG4 general agricultural 4-acre zone. Location is a 32.5 acre parcel of land that is part of the southeast border, the southwest border, except the parcel in the southeast corner. Section 1, Township 19 North, Range 11 East, Town of Mount Morris, Beach Nut Avenue. Mike, I'm going to ask you to come up and give us a rundown on this part of this application.
You betcha. So let's be really brief since I already said everything a minute ago. Again, looking to have a travel trailer there on property, and yeah.
Any questions on the conditional use?
So, travel trailer is there just for the term in between now and until you build a home, is that?
That is the intention, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Right, thank you.
Yeah.
Get it.
You said that, so there are outhouses there, right?
There's one latrine on property, yes.
And that's what you'll use, you won't be hooked up to the mobile home.
Correct, there will be a standalone unit.
And there's a well there too, I assume you said.
There is. Yep.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so we, preliminarily wise, Kyle actually went out to the property. We've also reviewed the maintenance records for that. And for the travel trailer, we're gonna allow continual use of the privy. And you'll see one of the conditions, should this go forward, one of the conditions for approval is that that will have to be vacated or abandoned when a new residence goes in, and a standard pouch system will have to be installed with the new home. So this is just kind of using it in the interim. Still have to do regular maintenance every 3 years on it and so forth, just like any other, pouch system would.
Any other questions? I think you can have a seat.
Thank you.
Any correspondence?
Okay, so as I said earlier, and that the town of Mount Morris did review the land use and zoning aspect with regard to the zoning. They really did not consider or even, give me any comments relative to a travel trailer. But this is something, given the fact it's over 10 acres, it's something that's very consistent with previous requests. So don't really have any other thing on that.
Okay. Nobody registered for anything, so then staff comments, please.
Okay, obviously, we have a request for the zone change, and should that zone change request be successful, the applicant is just desiring to store a travel trailer upon the property until such time that they build a single-family residence. The travel trailer, based upon the maps, will be approximately 500 foot inland on the lot near many of the old Boy Scout cabins. Given the heavily forested nature of the property, the travel trailer literally will be completely screened from view from all corners and all directions. And then, as I stated, with regard to the sanitary, we have reviewed this and we are going to allow continual use of the privy, subject to construction of the new home. Staff's reviewed this request and once again believes that storage and use of a travel trailer in accordance with county code is in keeping with similar requests that have come before this committee. While the committee will be making a recommendation on this later in the evening, we are recommending approval of the conditional use to store the travel trailer as noted. I would like to just ask that one additional condition be placed upon the property. Should this go forward, I'd like a number 10. And it would just simply read, storage of a travel trailer as proposed may only be permitted subject to said property being zoned AG4. The only reason why I put that in there is just should the zone change for some reason fail, then the conditional use would not go forward for the travel trailer.
All right, any good? All right. Then we will end the public hearing portion of the meeting and we will go into our business meeting.
Do we want to do text amendments though too, as part of this? We should do the, do we have that on the agenda? We can do the action on the public. We can take action and then we can do the a public hearing, so to speak, on the, or take action on these and then just go back into text amendments and approve them. Oh, so why don't we just
Then let's just do it.
Yeah, let's just do, so, and that obviously because these are text amendments, next, obviously we still need to bring this to the public's attention, so, and I'll be as brief as possible. As you're aware, every year we amend our codes to reflect, recent changes in statute, to eliminate discrepancies identified through actual application of the codes that we've identified throughout the years. And we also sometimes amend them based upon suggestions from, agencies such as the DNR and DSPS. What you have before you, I know it's 13 pages. I would like to just go through each one, just so that if we have any questions, it'll be really brief, but if we have any questions, that way we can address these as we go. The first being on page 1 here, I'm asking for an amendment to chapter 8, the Buildings and Building Regulations Code. It's section 831 authority. And all we're asking to do is to strike the Village of Red Granite from the delegated or relegated authority that's granted to us. And the reason for that is The Village of Red Granite actually has now their own building codes, a fee schedule, and a building inspector, which would be required by DSPS. We are working with them to amend the paperwork with DSPS to amend the delegation status and their respective paperwork. So all we're doing on that one is just removing Village of Red Granite from our codes. Page 2, you'll notice there's a number of items on here with regard to prohibited discharges. Those proposed text amendments is just to further define what constitutes a failed system and to better align with those systems identified in the state statute. So basically what you see there is exactly what's reflected in state statute. Now we get to page 3 with regard to the definitions, 58-9. With regard to conditional use, we have taken an in-depth look, Corporation Counsel and myself, at the conditional use parameters and definitions and everything in our code in hopes of preventing another Project Harmony in the future. It was deemed, I've done a lot of research. I actually went and pulled a lot of codes from other states, worked with Ruth, and we felt that if we had something in there that talked about compatibility, maintaining, community character, and certain conditions that had to be met in order for a conditional use to go forward and made it harder, we possibly could have prevented Project Harmony. So what I'm asking on conditional use for the definition is merely just that it has to be compatible with the surrounding area. The said use has to maintain community character, and the use has to align, and this is a big one, with the county's comprehensive plan. The second, data center, obviously with the onslaught of these data centers hitting the state of Wisconsin, we didn't have any reference or any mention of data centers. I thought it was important that we provide a definition for exactly what is a data center. And now this data center, you'll notice on here, it's regardless of size. We have had a request from an individual for a Bitcoin mining facility, which in essence is a small data center. So it would, everything that applies to a large data center would apply to that as well. So we've provided the definition there. And as you'll see later on in the code or later on in the amendment, we're actually putting that in a specific zone classification. And then the home occupation, that's just being revised to reflect state statute definition per SPS 320.02. On page 4, we actually get into the crux of the conditional use aspect in our code 58-163. And once again, you'll just notice compatibility, maintaining community character, aligning with comprehensive plan. It also allows the zoning office to require additional information such as studies of potential impacts, traffic studies, environmental impact analysis, property value assessments, or operational plans. I think that's important because then we could have actually have done some, property assessments to show that it could have a detrimental impact and therefore could have been denied. Then we move to page 5. This is just following up on a policy that we had established, 58-234, prohibited structures. It does allow for an exception for cargo containers or shipping containers, subject to them and basically being recladded, a roof being installed on them, doors, new doors or recladding of their doors. In other words, trying to make storage containers look like regular accessory buildings versus the back of a semi-trailer. On page 6, 58-236, selected conditional uses for home occupation. All we're doing is upping the home occupation percentage of the home from 20 to 25%. And the reason for that is to align with state statute. Now, if go to page 7, we get into the actual conditional uses for MI zones, which would be our intensive manufacturing. But if data centers don't show up until page 10, it's basically providing number 31 data centers. It would only be permitted in an intensive manufacturing district subject to a conditional use. Any other district per our code, if it's not listed, it would be prohibited. Page 11, it's just a clerical error there. You'll notice that E was stricken, subsection E from 58-826 was stricken, and we're putting in section D. That's the section that actually it does refer to. So we're just amending a clerical error. On page 12, 58-826 dealing with setbacks and highway setbacks. We've really never ever mentioned in our code, we've been doing this for years. It's been policy that for principal structures, accessory structures on private roads where there's no platted right of way, we've always adhered to a 15-foot setback for the structure from a private road or their property line, and 7.5 foot back for accessory structures. I thought it was very important to codify these, so that way it just eliminates any potential error for somebody wanting to erect a structure. And then lastly, on page 13, it has to do with access permits. It's section 58-826, access driveways. You'll notice the area that was stricken out, it says no separate access permit is needed on a Class C highway. That's not entirely true, because some towns do require access driveway permits. So I put in there that access permits on a Class C highway are subject to town review and may be required regardless of a land use permit. And that is all we've got for this year. Yes,
There are some businesses that sometimes use a
storage container.
storage container backed up to their building.
Mhm.
And they use it as warehouse storage. Is that allowable in the county?
As long as it is, the semi-trailer is roadworthy, and it's licensed, we've always allowed those in commercial and industrial areas. When you get into, residential areas, we've got a lot of them where they've removed the wheels. They take that semi-trailer, boom, and put it down on the side of their house. Now or those, what are those portable pods or whatever they call. And a lot of times they'll sit out in front of somebody's house for, a significant period of time. Per our code, they would be allowed for up to 6 months. But after that, if it's no longer being used for transit or storage to go from one place to another, we ask that it either be removed or replatted. But to answer your question with regard to the commercial, we've always typically allowed those, as long as it doesn't become permanent, and I'm talking permanent years. And we have had some.
Yeah, I know it exists in the county, and then not just, maybe not under your jurisdiction, but.
So, and I'll use one that came under our purview, was Front Porch Pets. Front Porch Pets had a number of semis sitting along there. If you'll notice, they've actually now kind of put a lean-to off of their building with a side and like a roll-away door, so that they can completely encase those. They still use them for storage because they're vermin, prohibit vermin from getting in. But we have no problem if you want to, continue to use those, but then they've got to be platted and somehow disguised, or, it's taken away from public view.
All right.
Any other questions? All right, then we'll go into our business meeting. Becky, you've got a roll call. Thank you. Approval of the agenda.
Okay, a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion. Bart, second Jen. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. You were given the minutes from yesterday's meeting. Motion Pat. Second John. Any discussion? Revisions? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Aye. No unfinished business, new business, action on public hearing applications. First, we'll consider the zone change request for Mike Carter representing Apollon LLC. Gentlemen,
Excuse me.
Motion to approve.
motion by Pat,
I'll second.
second by Bart. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Pat?
Do you want to read the reasons?
Oh,
And then,
yeah,
Yep.
reasons. Go ahead, yeah, reasons. Good call.
requested application if approved will be consistent with the spirit and intent of the zoning code and will not contrary to the public interest because, number one, after reviewing the application and considering all related testimony, the applicant, if approved, will, with conditions, will not harm the public or neighboring land uses. Visibility is good at the driveway location. There are no public safety issues. The proposal matches the goals of the zone and provides suitable area for residential development.
Go with the possible approval conditions. Number one, the development must be in substantial compliance with the site plan and testimony provided at the public hearing. All required setbacks must be complied with, and all other codes must be adhered to. All permits must be obtained for future residents, including land use, building, and sanitary. While the property still maintains camping structures from the old Boy Scout camp, Camp Napawan, the structures must be abandoned and used only as accessory structures. Overnight or overflow sleeping within these structures is prohibited, which is just what they're designed for. All future driveway shall meet required codes, including fire and access code requirements to provide for access by emergency vehicles. In addition, the driveway shall provide a good visibility and a turnaround area to prevent backing onto the road. The applicant will allow agents of Waushara County access to the property to ensure compliance with all applicable regulations. The application is now forwarded to the Waushara County Board of Supervisors and the Town Board of Mount Morris for their consideration. The town board is responsible for determining whether this application, if approved, is in compliance with the town's approved land use plan.
Thanks, gentlemen. Now hearing the reasons and conditions for this request for a rezone. Now we need to take roll call. Pat,
Yes.
John,
Yes,
Art, and I approve. Next, we will consider the conditional use for the same property, same owner. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion and a second. All right, Bart, would you please read the reasons?
The requested application, if approved, will be consistent with the spirit and intent of the zoning code and will not be contrary to the public interest because after reviewing the application and considering all related testimony, the application, if approved with conditions, will not harm the public or neighboring land use. Visibility is good from the driveway location and there is no public safety issues. The proposal matches the lot and available area. Therefore, the requested application, if approved, the following conditions shall apply. The development must be in substantial compliance with the site plan and testimony provided at the public hearing. All required setbacks and all other codes must be complied with. The travel trailer must be set back a minimum of 100 feet from any property line. All permits must be obtained, including non-plumbing sanitary for the use of the travel trailer. While the property still maintains camping structures of the old Boy Scout camp, Camp Napawan, the structures must be abandoned and used only as accessory structures. Overnight or overflow sleeping within these structures is prohibited. The trailer must be kept licensed and roadworthy at all times. No additions, attachments, or permanent foundations are allowed. The travel trailer must be used in accordance with camping trailer, travel trailer, or mobile camper standards per section 58-236, subsection 17 of the county zoning ordinance. The zoning office shall annually inspect the travel trailer to ensure compliance with these conditions. The driveway shall meet all required codes, including fire, and access code requirements to provide for access of emergency vehicles. In addition, the driveway shall provide good visibility and a turnaround area to prevent backing into the road. The applicant will allow agents of Waushara County access to the property to ensure compliance with all applicable regulations. Storage of travel trailer shall be subject to the approval of the zone change to AG4.
Thank you. Now hearing the reasons and conditions, is there any discussion? If not, I'll ask for a roll call vote. Pat?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Bart?
I approve.
And I approve. All right, gentlemen, now we have the text amendments.
Make a motion to approve all changes mentioned.
Excellent motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by John. Is there any discussion or anything on these text amendments?
We don't have to read them since Todd already went through them, so.
Right. All right, then, we'll roll call vote this as well. Pat?
Yes.
John? Approve. Bart?
Yes, I approve.
And I approve. Any extensions?
We have none.
Any minor changes?
No more requests.
And next month's public hearing?
We have a conditional use and a zone change.
For a used home.
Right.
No changes KRBs.
KRB's is proposing if you guys know about it, but KRB's is proposing a retail shop. Yep, right next door.
Maybe a butcher shop at some point.
To work you go.
I was already approached by him.
All right, then with nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Well, we are adjourned.
Thank you,
Thank
gentlemen.
you.
Tell you what, I'm in favor of a good butcher shop.
Yeah. Something.